Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast show. Now, the past few weeks we've seen some sort of feuding happening between the ODM party. And to help us understand further what is going on this morning, we are joined by one of the party members who are in some way against what transpired over the weekend in Naivasha, and that is Dr. Paul Otuoma. He is the Member of Parliament for Funyula constituency. A very good morning to you, sir. And thank you very much for coming to studio this morning. And of course, Mutegi Njau joins us in the conversation, and maybe you can kickstart this conversation for us.
Yes, you went to Naivasha.
Yes.
And you are seen on TV in the signs after the meeting, making a lot of noise. Yes. What happened?
Now, Mutegi, I think we went to Naivasha to discuss our party nomination rules, and after we finished that, of course there are many leaders there, so we actually transgressed into an area of trying to relook at the leadership in the party. And of course, when we were doing that, we had you know, conversations on the pros and cons and all this, and on how the procedure should be and how things should be done. And definitely, sometimes you'll have difference in the way you look at that, in terms of opinion or even in terms of the procedure or the roadmap on what we really need to do, you know, to energize the party, to pull the party together, to overcome some of the challenges that we have had in the party. And maybe as we were trying to consult, I think maybe that's where some of us were being caught on camera looking like we were annoyed and all that. But we were not aware that maybe in those conversations, you know, we were being captured.
No, it wasn't really a conversation. It's that a decision was made. Two rivaling groups who fought for elections, ODM elections that did not take place.
Yes.
They merged and became one group. And they apparently were not happy with that.
Actually, that was not the main agenda why we were in Naivasha. Yeah. That was just came about as a side thing, as I said, when leaders meet. And we have been having those challenges in the party, there was a feeling that we talk about them.
Yes.
And when we said, okay, there's nothing wrong talking when people are together. But the unfortunate thing that happened to some of us is that it seemed like there was a prior list of how things should be or who should be where. And that's where some of us have felt very strongly that that is not the right roadmap to solve the challenges that ODM is facing. And we'll still continue to express our opinion that as leaders within the party, I have very strong feeling that we can solve our problems better than the way maybe we are trying to approach it. We may not satisfy everybody. Not everybody will get a position in the party, and that's not the idea. The idea is that how do we get leadership within the party that can re-energize the party, that can make the party pull together, that can make the party really overcome some of the challenges we have seen from the time we went to Kasarani and even after Kasarani, and in view of also the kind of political environment that we are currently operating in.
Would you say there's some sort of animosity within the party because there's been a call for, you know, young leadership coming up, take over the party leadership, and then what we see over the weekend is generally a young you know, vibe, some young vibe going on. Could you say that's an
First of all, you know, this issue about young and old cannot be an ideological, you know, can I say an ideological issue. We founded ODM. ODM has some history. And the history of ODM is that most of the people who coalesced together in ODM have had certain very strong beliefs about even the political equation in the country, the issues of governance. And they have been part and parcel of that change that has been happening in Kenya for the last 20 or 30 years. And it is that ideological leaning that has pulled some politicians into ODM. And you'd find that when we reach a point whereby now we start redefining our political beliefs on issues that I feel to myself are baseless unless they can be justified with ideas that, you know, we feel the party going in this direction is not really helping us realize our political dreams, then we can say we need to change. But sometimes when you just talk about the biological age, you can have somebody who is 20, but they are still very primitive in their thinking. Like now, even these people who are harassing young girls. You know, that is a very primitive way to think, and yet those are very young people.
True.
So we should be looking at ideas and the ideology of the party. Are we really trying to make a better Kenya as we promised our supporters? Maisha Bora, that has been our slogan.
Yes.
The social democracy values that we really believed that should be there. Are they the ones that we are really pushing forward to make the country better? Don't forget that we have also been unable to form government in the last 2 elections, in 2007 and even now through a coalition in 2013. And definitely as a party, one of the largest party actually in the Republic of Kenya, we must really be examining ourselves on exactly whether we are doing the right things. Because if you are forming a party for the purposes of being given the instruments of power to implement what you think should be the correct political direction that the country should take, and that has not happened. Those are the issues that we should be addressing, because we also have got a larger constituency that is part and parcel of this republic. And if we are not able to address those issues to become a successful party in the coming elections, then something is wrong. If we are going to be bogged down now by just the issue or, age and all that, some of us tend to think you must justify. If it is age, it must be ideas that are coming out to say this is not the direction we should be taking. We should be taking this direction. But not just talking about biological age. To me, that is meaningless in politics.
But looks to me, ODM problem is that of internal democracy.
Mm-hmm.
You were supposed to have some elections.
Yes.
In February last year.
Yeah.
This year, yeah.
Mm.
You didn't have elections.
Yes.
They were disrupted by the men in black.
Mm.
Instead of solving out to find out why we cannot have elections, then you go and do nominations.
Yes.
Why can't you, first of all, as leaders in ODM, find out who are the men in black? You are supposed to do some investigations and make it public to see what happened.
Yes.
You have buried that in the sand. Why?
Definitely, Teg, you know that I was one of the candidates, and I really went out to campaign. I even think you hosted me here, and there's no way I can be somebody who is completely unreasonable to spend a lot of energy, time and resources moving throughout the whole country, just having come through an election, seeking a position, knowing very well that something is going to go wrong in Kasarani, or there's a pre-arranged plan to disrupt this election. So that was a completely unforeseen incident that happened. And if you were to ask me myself, I tend to think that was completely the failure of the Secretariat, the ODM Secretariat, to secure the premises, to make sure that the delegates who are going to Kasarani were the right people who are supposed to be there. Because there's no way you could have been an ODM delegate who has been with the party all along and be the one participating in processes that really, make the party not fulfill its objectives. Because the elections were supposed to re-energize the party, to bring in leadership in the party and give the members of the party opportunity to participate in electing those leaders. So that was very unforeseen. And in my view, as a manager...
But planned?
No, as a manager, I can tell you that when you are given a responsibility, you cannot again be going back to the board of directors to say, you are responsible for this or you are responsible for that. The manager you employ, if you are employed competitively as a manager, it is your responsibility to implement what the board has said. You can now not go back to the board and say, there was not enough security on the premises, or the ballot boxes were these, or there was some list or some delegate. So to me, it was the incompetence of the Secretariat.
Fine.
And that is now where the issue, where some of us are saying that we cannot run the ODM party in sometimes a casual manner, that sometimes the way we handle issues. Because under the Political Parties Act that have come in now, which we passed ourselves and is even enshrined in the Constitution that Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy, it is our responsibility now to streamline political parties, to be able to fulfill that obligation which the Constitution has given us to enhance the rule of democracy in this country. If today we are going to be running parties as either regional outfits or tribal outfits or personal outfits, then we will be failing this country, because the danger of trying to lapse back into single party era or into an era of strongmen is there with us, and that is not where Kenya wants to go. Kenyans have paid a very heavy price to try and say that we want institutions that work. We want institutions that are going to help us. Today, even if I'm the president of this country, I would be not happy to see a weak opposition. Because part of good governance means that the opposition must be able to play its role, but not to come up with a monolithic system that will again take us back almost 30, 40 years behind where we were, because we saw the dangers where there is no proper oversight and checks and balances.
Let me go back to the elections.
Yes.
You have said in a cooperative situation,
yes,
the manager is supposed not to go back to the board complaining.
Yes.
So this manager of yours mismanaged by election.
Yes.
Has he or she been punished?
Now these are the issues where the probes were, and unfortunately you saw sometimes before the report came out, again the unfortunate thing you saw at ODM premises, which again just went ahead to manifest itself, that some of these people who have been given those responsibilities, which are supposed to be professionally competent to handle, they cannot handle. Because if you have a premises and you're having a meeting, have you ever gone to the board and said, I need security, I need formal security because of this and this? That is what a good manager or a good leader should be doing. But you cannot be a manager and then something happens, you're either mishandled by the so-called goons, and you start complaining about your party leader, and as I have repeatedly said, your party leader cannot be your bodyguard. Just like even now when President Uhuru says, all of us cannot have policemen guarding us. Yeah. It is the responsibility of all of us concerned to make sure that things work. Now, to me, a good manager must be able to know that this is the environment that I'm operating in. And in this environment, for me to be successful, to create an enabling environment, these are the measures that I need to put in place. Then today you'd be presenting to us to say, this is what I proposed to the board or to the NEC, and they have not been given those resources to do that. Every time there is a failure, you want to attribute it to the political leadership. The political leadership is not the Secretariat. The reason we have the Secretariat is to have professional people who are able now to serve we politicians. That you can even create an enabling environment today that we politicians will always compete. We'll always stand for positions. But if the Secretariat is working, everybody would be satisfied that I've gotten services, I've seen the list of delegates, I've been to the office, I've been served. So even if I've been defeated in an election, it's not acrimony. Because at the end of the day, if we all believe that we belong to the same party, you can compete within the party, but after that, you come back because you have got those ideologies or beliefs that pull you together. But today, sometimes you can see a lot of negative energy being generated, whereby even the competition within ODM is far greater than our competitors, who should be Jubilee. So we are expending so much energy internally. And this is the things that we were saying we can sort out by creating that environment, so that when politicians compete within the party, it's not enmity, it's not forever, it's not about flawed elections, it's not about individuals just sitting down, the same individuals who participated in that flawed election, thinking that they're the only stakeholders in the party. You cannot be the only stakeholders. 10 months down the line, a lot has happened. We must take stock and say where we are now, how do we move forward? But you don't just say because you are a candidate that now you sit in a room and share seats and believe that all the problems are gone. That cannot happen. But
that's exactly what they probably whoever met there decided with that list, that you cannot, since you cannot have an election, why not divide the seats?
You know, if you are going to have an interim measure, let it be consultative and everybody understands that this is something we can take to the National Governing Council.
Because it was not consultative.
It is not even solving our problems. And
Why
that's
not?
My view.
Why not?
Because how does it solve
Because
the
all
problem?
the parties that were wrangling are now together.
No, those are not the only stakeholders in ODM. You must remember that during the build-up to Kasarani, there were certain other issues which cannot be tackled by these few individuals sharing seats. And those maybe who feel that they want to be there, then you create a deputy of what. That is not the right way to do things.
What do you think is the right way?
What is the right way?
What is the right way?
The right way to do things, in my view, first of all, you discuss issues so that you're almost at the same level. Everybody understands what is being discussed. The second thing now is to say, can we take this idea to either the National Governing Council to see whether they can, ratify, make recommendations on this idea, so that then we can say that from there we can move to the
Is that not what is planned? Then those names are supposed to be taken.
That cannot be planned when you have already shared seats. Because once you have shared seats, what will happen if you go there and somebody says, oh, we don't feel there's proper regional balancing here? Will you create another third or fourth deputy? But if you had just said, okay, these are the members who are still interested in these positions, let us have a wider consultation. Then these ideas that today we are saying, It's not that we are opposing ODM. It's not that we have any serious problems with the party. But we are saying within the party, we are having different ways of looking at things. And that avenue must be availed. So that within, as members get convinced, then you move forward. Because you cannot get everything. And I believe that out of thousands of members or millions of members of ODM, it doesn't have to be even an MP or an MCA to hold a certain position. These are issues that we can say, okay, fine, we have got this number of seats, we need them to be lean, and even our constitution has decided how many seats we should have, which even currently we flouted by putting in so many other names, deputies and all this. In my view, I don't think that's what we need. And that's why I have been saying this is not the right way to go. We must get a better way to solve this problem that will bring the party together, that will re-energize the party. And as I said, I'm very much alive that all of us cannot be officials. And we have been doing our politics today without being officials of the party.
It sounds like there's the issue of the superiority battles coming in within ODM. What's your take on that?
Definitely, as I said, there's nothing wrong with politicians competing. The only wrong thing is when you set a wrong paradigm on which to compete that really saps a lot of energy away from the party, that the internal wrangles become too much. And that's why I'm saying, in my view, today, if you are to ask me, I would have said, let us first of all streamline the Secretariat. Let us make sure that during the reorganization of Multiparty, the new constituencies, you know, the politics of that time. You remember we had a very big constituent of ODM in Rift Valley, which left. Some of those positions, we don't know when those elections were done and those officials were filled in. There also has been a very strong feeling in the party. And this is the reality, even if you look at ANC and other places, how parties work. There will be areas where the party enjoys very strong support. So the level of political competition in that area will be higher than in areas where the party maybe is not enjoying very strong political support. And currently, in the process of trying to enhance multi-party democracy, you remember all of us had to submit lists of our registered members to IEBC for documentation, and also to the political parties registrar. So we know all these places, how many people have been registered and all that. So for you to come in and think that maybe the level of competition in area A will be the same as area B, where the party's membership maybe is even less than 10 people. It cannot be the same like where there is a members registration of 300,000 people. So when you try to deal with that kind of situation, as if it is a uniform situation, that was during those kind of days, where there was only one party and it didn't matter. So throughout the whole region, throughout the whole republic, you would assume KANU is the only party, and you dish out those seats just like that. But the current political reality in multi-party democracy, we know that at different political times, different parties will enjoy different strengths in different areas. So the level of competition in those areas where the party enjoys overwhelming support will be very high.
So you are not, when you went to that meeting in Naivasha, you did not know at all there was a list of dished
I
seats.
didn't know. I didn't know.
You only found yourself being allocated a seat. You're given a seat.
That's the only thing we saw. And the unfortunate thing is that if you are also a competitor and you are again the one determining who should be in this list and who should be here, then we start wondering.
Who is that? Who is that? We're saying decided.
No, you see, the people, as you are putting it, were the same people who are really vying for these positions.
Yes, including yourself.
Including myself.
But when the list was drawn, you are not involved.
I was not even aware of it. I just saw it there for the first time, and I myself, I know that in decision-making process, such a decision of this magnitude cannot just be glossed over casually. It's something that if you give me, I'll say, let me look at this. Let me also consult with the larger constituency and see whether this really gives us a roadmap. Then the rest of the thing you can say, yeah, it looks reasonable, but we need to do this, so that even when now we take it to the larger audience, it's acceptable. 3, we must also be able to give room to people to ventilate, even when they differ with you, so that maybe it takes time for you to persuade them to see what you're trying to do. So that opportunity must also be availed. Because if you are aware of something maybe 6 months before, it is so different, Mutegi, than when I just come here, maybe within 1 hour, you have been privy to something almost 6 months ago, you have thought about it, you have analyzed it, and then you just ambush me and say you must make a decision here. You must come out with a decision here. I don't think that's the way we do things. Because some of our minds tell us that if something is
so, this list was forced and the people who attended the meeting?
Because I thought there was some people who were privy
to this information.
And as I have said myself, and I think it is public knowledge, we are all in ODM. This is our party that we love. And we want to make ODM a strong party. We want to prepare to win elections. We want to re-examine ourselves that in the new, political environment that we are operating in, how do we position ourselves to make sure that we overcome some of the challenges that we have been going through. Two, I'm also very much alive that a party that has got the diversity and the numbers like ODM has, you must be able to navigate and manage all those different opinions and pull everybody on board. But you see, when we start thinking monolithically that, maybe just there is one bullet which is a solution to everything, that cannot be.
Senator Farah Malim.
Yes.
He's a very senior person in ODM.
Yeah.
He was here with us the other day, and he made some very scandalous claims, which maybe are true. He said the party has been sold to the highest bidder, that with this kind of lineup, the party is gone.
But you see, this is where I'm telling you that if members are made to understand what is happening, then there's no reason to even have those kind of comments. But if people are taken aback with what is happening...
He said that actually in nomination of ODM nominations, a lot of money is involved, corruption. And he said that he knows, he had before certain people saying this party they will take.
As I told you, Mutegi, in the political parties where we operate, and with the diversity that we have in ODM, you will get different people saying very outrageous things. Even the other day you have been hearing about loyalists, moles and all that. Yes. But I said, to me, there's nothing wrong with the politicians, depending on their level of their kind of politics, uttering some of these words. You can't control that. But what is critical is to have now the management of the party being able to be professionalized, to manage all those kind of issues that you are talking about and bring people back on track. That these are the issues, and maybe sometimes...
Do you think some of those people in that list paid money?
I have no evidence towards that, and I would be very, very surprised that a party where most of us know how we operate within ODM, it's through a lot of sacrifice, self-sacrifice, both in terms of your time, your resources.
But it's a fact.
So I would be very surprised.
It is claimed that some people to be nominated in ODM sometimes, and in many cases, pay money.
Have to pay.
This is during the election
time.
There has been those kind of allegations. And that's why, like we said, when we were going to Naivasha, we were going to discuss the party nomination rules.
Yes.
And truly, the exercise we went through was quite elaborate on some of the areas where we need to strengthen. From how you identify your candidates, how you vet your candidates, how you do conflict resolutions, how you after the conflict resolutions, how you really can move forward and again bring everybody on board. All these processes we were taken through. But that was not something that we are not aware of. And that's why some of us were saying, if you have got a properly streamlined secretariat where people are concentrating on the interests of the party, you can overcome all those issues. Because politicians, like now, for example, one of the issues we need to ask ourselves, if today you are the SG of the party, and during the heats of nomination, you are also so busy trying to seek your seat, somewhere in a corner, somewhere in the constituency or somewhere. And yet the whole nation now, in the Secretariat, if you have left people there, either the executive director or somebody like that, who may not be capable of making now political decisions, then you end up with everybody trying to do their own things. Because if you realize that in certain countries, if you learn from certain experiences like the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, the ANC, throughout so many years of existence, they have come to learn on what the do's and don'ts. So in ODM, what I tend to believe, sometimes the party has really grown bigger than sometimes the way we try to solve problems. If it is a small regional party, you can sit in a room and sort it out. If today you have got 3 or 4 members of parliament, even there may be more seats than you can distribute. If you go there, you'll be told to take which one do you want. You can even hold 4 or 5 of those positions. But if you are running a party with almost over 2 million registered members, just members, those are registered. You have not put in supporters. You have not put in that. The interests, as I told you, will differ, and they'll differ from region to region. So if IBC today faces the challenges they face during party elections, can you imagine a political party without any funding, just voluntary members' contribution, trying to do a national nomination in one day, in different regions, in different places? Is that feasible? Is it practical? Those are the issues we are saying that we must relook at our nomination rules. If you go to countries like Norway, they know their candidates even 1 year before. But in our place here, you remember that even the parliament had to change the political, political parties act, just to accommodate the wrangles that were existing that time within ODM, where some members felt that, you know, they may not have enough time to defect, and we reduced that to almost 45 days, and it was supposed to be 6 months before. And that was a very elaborate process that Kenyans went through, the stakeholders. But that was just changed at the spur of the moment because people, the MPs at that time, just felt that it's about themselves, and they changed that act. And there are consequences now. It is not promoting multi-party democracy or even strengthening parties. So unless again we go revisit that political parties act and clean it up to make parties not just as instruments where people come in today and tomorrow you want to be an MP, or you come in today, tomorrow you want to be an MCA, that is where we end up with politicians who have got no direction. Sometimes you are in parliament or you are an MCA, but because you have not really known the what I would call the ideology of the party or even the party manifesto, you have no idea. That's why today you'll find just politicians saying everything or doing anything or having wrangles even immediately after the election. Because there's no tradition, there's no foundation, there's no culture. You have just jumped into something, you are like just a bunch of people whom fate has put together. And you cannot build parties like that. That's why we were saying, if we go back to the Political Parties Act and really see when Kenyans said we need 6 months or you should have been a member for 6 months, what were they trying to cure? Because they were saying if you are a politician, you must stand for something. You are representing the public. It's not about your own selfish interests. And if you are representing the public, then there's certain expectations that the public must have from you. Don't forget that today even political parties are being funded from the public. Do you want to tell me that is just a blank check for them to do what they want? There will be no obligations or commitments that they will want from those political parties, the public, to say, we gave you 100 million shillings. Yes, of what good is it to the Republic of Kenya? Yes. So you cannot take that money and just treat it like your personal property that you can even sit in a room and say, I want to do this, I want to. There must be sanctions that come by you being funded by the public.
All right, so let's, sorry, Mutegi, the SMS is coming in here, and remember, if you want to ask Dr. Otuoma any questions, 22422 is our SMS line. And those in praise of you saying, Honorable Otuoma, for the first time, you're coming out very strongly, maturely optimistic, an ODM party, and addressing social democratic issues. Being young is not ideological. Then there's someone else who says, you come out as a genuine, honest ODM man. He's what ODM needs. But then there are those who are of the view that you're crying wolf because Ababu Namwamba is considered a more appealing leader from Western Kenya. Quite a number of SMSs coming in saying that. I'd like to hear what your take is on that.
First of all, let me tell you that this issue is not about a particular individual. And you have seen me, what I've just been saying. It's about how we build strong institutions. It's about how we make sure that those institutions live up to the expectations of members. Immediately you start personalizing, you know, an institution, then it means you are really dealing with the wrong paradigm. And that is where we get things wrong. Today, ODM party is not about just an individual. It's about also those people whose aspirations you carry. You remember there are over 2 million members. There are also 40 million Kenyans today who would like to see that the multi-party, the freedoms they enjoy today, which have been guaranteed by the Constitution, which can only be done either through Parliament, the executive, or the judiciary, are safeguarded. So it is not just about an individual. Because an individual, when you say you are appealing, you are what? Then that one you go to the voters. They're the ones to decide that this one is appealing on this or this one is appealing on that. And as I told you, the problem is not about politicians competing or wanting positions. That is natural. Otherwise, then what else would you be wanting? But when we come now to the institution to manage that process, so that all of you now, at the end of the day, you are able to challenge each other, you are able to tolerate each other, you are able to incorporate ideas that can move us forward, you can really give and take, you know, you can critique without being seen that, you know, you are rebellious or you are not supporting your party. So it is not an issue about personalities. That one I can tell you it is not. That one, if you want to come to an issue of who is an appealing politician, it is only the voter who can decide for you. Yes. So let us not cheapen the challenges that we are facing in ODM to either a regional issue or an individual issue. What we are doing today is for posterity. It's not just about me. Like nearly almost 70% or 80% of MPs are normally sent home after every 5 years. So what is this so special about you? What we are just trying to say is that when we create this institution, it is going to help us achieve aspirations. Whether we are politicians, whether we are Kenyans, just whether we support ODM or not, what ODM is doing today, I'm sure it's going to happen to the other parties. If we don't get it correctly, are you going to tell me that these other parties are going to do anything? They'll also just sit down and say, this is a minefield, let us not do that. And what is going to happen in another 10 years, where now you are calling some of these people, you are calling young people who have no history of even where we have come from. Because if you have history, then you must understand why Kenyans have gone through the process that they have gone through. That is the history that has determined us to think the way we are thinking. And that's, I get sometimes hurt or really baffled when I see people thinking that going back to the single party system, or where there is one domineering party without any checks or balances, that is only good for you so long as the person in office is appealing to you. What about next time another one comes in who is not appealing to you? What would you be doing? That is not the best way to move forward. So this is not about an individual. An individual, we can sort out each other when we call for elections. Then you say, yes, I'm standing for this position, I'm standing for this. That is where now the people can determine that, yes, you have been defeated. You must support whoever is there now, if you really believe in ODM ideology, which I really believe in, and we move forward. Because we are not talking like this because we don't love ODM, we don't support ODM. We are talking like this because we want to make ODM stronger. There's nowhere else we are going. We will always be there.
You have rejected the list?
Completely.
And in your view, what is the way forward? You and maybe there are other people who have also objected the list. Some there, some not there. So what do you see happen? As
I have said, when I look at that list or whatever we are currently having in ODM, to me this is just a challenge. And when you are having challenges, the outcome depends on the decision and the choices you make.
The list will be taken to...
Yeah, if it is taken there, we'll still talk the way we are talking. And if the NGC feels that, you know, that is the right way to go, as I said, then you'll just have a minority opinion and you move on.
So you accept whatever comes, the outcome?
You see, that's why I'm saying that if you believe in institutions, and I completely believe that ODM still is the most popular party, ODM really stands for what is good for Kenya. Despite my misgivings, I still have just to support my party, because I believe that at the end of the day, you know, you cannot have it either way. And maybe I'll live to fight another battle another day. Yeah, but that is my very strong opinion that what I feel is the right roadmap for the party, to bring everybody on board, not to think it's about sharing positions, not to think that when you are talking like this, you don't want a particular individual. We are just saying we have seen the issues that have affected us are larger than these people who are just sitting down in a room and think that by sharing seats, you know, they are going to solve that problem. It will not go away. Yeah, and time will tell.
Do you foresee ODM having elections?
If we go to the National Governing Council, which is coming, we have no choice. We must, at the end of the day, have a roadmap on how to have elections. Because how do we go back to the grassroots? You remember there were almost 100, around 80 constituencies that were split. That means that there is almost 160 constituencies where we need to reorganize the grassroots. As I've also been saying, we have seen the challenges that we faced during nominations of the party, and we must really think through those processes early enough so that we are not caught in that. You must also realize that we are in a coalition called CORD. We must also make a decision, you know, that whether we have now, you know, been together long enough to feel that, you know, we can take that a step further, because sometimes coalitions in Africa, after the elections, it is only the people who have shared the spoils or the victors who have something to share and maybe hold together because of what they are sharing. But if you are a coalition and sometimes you're in opposition, unless it is very clear that you can harmonize, you know, your political ideologies and see that maybe you are better off together as one, and then you move forward. So there are all those issues that we need to deal with, because today we are talking about ODM. Don't forget we have Wiper, we have got Ford Kenya, whom we also have got responsibility towards being the largest member of the coalition. Whatever we do is also going to affect our coalition partners. How do we carry them forward? So those are still issues I feel that we have to deal with. And whatever happens in ODM definitely will affect how we deal with those issues, because you have seen them sometimes emerging. You know, Wiper has had its own also issues, the other side. And some of us, as I said, we also have got some very strong, you know, feelings that if we are taking all this energy, being together, is there a way we can carry it forward so that we look for others? Instead of this thing I've been hearing, you know, Chama cha Western, Chama cha Coast, I don't know, this one belongs to which region. Some of us don't think that's what we should subscribe to, because at the end of the day, whether you form one in your region, you'll need all other Kenyans. And if everybody continue to think like that, then we will have even a family party in the whole republic. So those are the responsibility I feel that ODM still owes to Kenyans, because we must still go back to the grassroots. We must legitimize the people who are really in office, so that you are properly legitimately in the office. Otherwise, today anybody can challenge that, you know, this is not, we violated our constitution. Because what does the ODM constitution say?
Since that meeting in Naivasha, and since people have expressed unhappiness about it,
yes,
your party leader, the former prime minister, has approached certain of the people who have been complaining,
yes,
and he has met them.
Yes,
maybe probably to convince them that they are to accept. I don't know whether you have been approached or whether you met him or whether you plan to meet him, so that
I was definitely in Naivasha, and I think I've expressed myself on this issue, and the party leader is still my party leader. I mean, as I said, even if we are having different views on how to move forward, he's still my party leader, and definitely if he feels to reach out to me, I mean, he will. But there's nothing to reach out, because we are still in the same party. But on this issue, if we feel that we need to discuss it further, maybe the other people were not there. So it is within his leadership view that he must also be able to explain to them what exactly happened. But for me, I was there, so I know what happened. So maybe there's no reason for him to meet me at this time.
He can meet you to try to convince you to accept the seat that you are offered.
No, first of all, I have to say I've already declined that offer. And as I said, we'll be going to the NGC and others, and even those who declined. Governor Paranya also declined that offer. So as we go to the National Governing Council, as I said, we are still party stalwarts, very strong members of ODM. So we are not looking at a situation whereby we will not find a solution. I believe we are looking at a situation whereby we are going to find a solution, even despite maybe our different views on this thing.
But the solution is actually having an election.
And that's what I said. If through the National Governing Council we'll say that we need to put certain measures in place before the election, then the National Governing Council can say that this is an interim measure. The only way to sort out this issue is to have an election, and that is actually the only way to sort out this issue. But we can also not have an election and an environment that is going to be manipulated to, again, you know, try to scandalize the party. Because you must also realize we are not operating in an isolated environment. Our competitors are also interested in what is happening in our place.
The question of list is always haunting ODM.
Yes.
On that day when you were supposed to have elections, Honorable Maura,
yes,
he shouted down, stoned on tables and said, look, there is a list here. My name is not there.
Yes.
What guarantee is there even if you do election next time? There will be no list. Like the same one, we wrote there.
And you see, that's why Mutegi, I was saying that, you know, there are certain measures we must put in place. Because we have learnt our lessons. We have learnt our lessons. And me, if you are to ask me squarely, the issues that are affecting us are not even the political issues. They are managerial issues, where the Secretariat has completely failed to provide an environment for us to do our politics. Politicians must just compete. Politicians will talk. They will do that. That doesn't matter. But the Secretariat must be able to know that all these are my members. How do I create an environment that allows them to do those politics without really affecting negatively the party? If you look at what happened in Kasarani, those are management issues. The management didn't provide an enabling environment. What happened in Orange House, those are management issues. Whereby the people employed, the EDs and all that, were unable to provide an environment that is conducive for us to do politics. But competing in political parties and vying for positions, how do you vie for positions without competing with each other? But does that now translate into some kind of hatred or fallout in the party? Like most people say that, you know, when you are expressing different shades of opinion, then you may fall out. We are not looking towards falling out. We are just saying that we'll compete, but after that, after the competition, whatever solution carries the day, we must come back together. And even in this country, we must learn that once we have even elected a president, that is the president of the Republic of Kenya. The government must serve all Kenyans, and we all come together. We must play our oversight role as opposition. So sometimes I get disturbed when people start saying, oh, we want to cooperate with the government. Cooperate what? You want to transform yourself into the executive? You must play your role on which Kenyans gave you. Opposition, oversight, government of the day, as you prepare to be the government of tomorrow. That's what happens. So, but if all of you want to join the government today, then what will happen tomorrow? What is the alternative for Kenyans? That is not the best way to enhance democracy. So in my view, those issues that we are talking about in ODM, we should be talking how do we enhance our role as the opposition party currently, as we also prepare to take over government in 2017, as we appeal to other Kenyans. But it is a wrong paradigm for members of ODM today to think that the solution of development, you remember those days of at development lies with you talking to so-and-so, the president, those things are not there. And I'm sure even President Uhuru cannot do that, because the government budgets are there, the governor, the devolution thing that we have fought for is there. All we need is to see more resources, more accountability from the governors, and those are milestones that some of the efforts we people in opposition have made to make sure that the resources are down to the people. CDF is there. The days when politicians, you are called for arambes, which are even beyond your income, that era we have minimized. So those are milestones that we have made. So sometimes don't just think that the fact that we have not been able to form government, it has been in vain. No, we have enhanced democracy, the Bill of Rights. All these things are achievements that have come about because of agitation. So it is not necessarily that when you're in government is when you do things. Let us play our role that Kenyans gave us, and we move on and prepare to also take over government in 2017. So that today we are not part and parcel of government that is unable to take care of security. People are complaining. Why do you want to be part of that? Where we are saying that our national debt is raising, why do you want to be part of that? Those are the issues we should be challenging. When people say some people have eaten chicken, that is the job of opposition. But today we are concentrating so much energy on ourselves that we are not even properly oversighting the government. And oversighting government, as I said, is not enmity. It's positive criticism. Even the president himself has said it will be wrong to have a weak opposition.
Dr. Otuoma, two SMSs here. You said you had declined the seat that that had been handed to you.
Not handed, offered.
Offered, sorry, sorry. And someone is asking, had you been nominated as a chairman, would you be complaining today? That's Dr. Sonde in Eldoret.
I will definitely not even have taken it, because as I told you, the issue is not about just a few individuals sitting in a room and sharing seats. The issue is this really enabling us to address the challenges that we have in the party? And in my view, it is not. There is the larger ODM family that must also be brought on board. And that can only happen when you say today that, okay, this is my opinion. What do you people think? That is what we call discussion. That is what dialogue is all about. But don't come with a predetermined status that you want us to endorse. And then when you say, oh, you are complaining, then you say, 50th chair, third deputy. That is not the way to do things. We want strong institutions. And we can only build strong institutions if we stand for the values that are going to help us move forward. And as I said, as I do this, I'm doing it, in my view, what I think is in the best interest of my party. A party that I'll stand with, come rain or sunshine.
Now, there's the people who think that because of those wrangles in ODM is almost disintegrated.
The weak opposition, they're calling it. On its deathbed.
No.
Yeah.
What is happening in ODM currently, I would expect it is even going to happen in other places. It only happens that being the largest party, we must show the way. And we have started that. The only problem we are having is that it is taking us too long. But this is normal. The only issue is that it should not take us too long. Like now, as I said, you remember from February, after Kasarani up to now, almost 10 months.
Yeah.
This is what now we should be trying to avoid. The length of time that it's taking us to overcome our challenges. But the challenges we are facing are not unique. They are normal, in my view. The only issue is that if we are properly consulted and, you know, we look that this is the roadmap, then we move forward. And then we now start focusing our energy on exactly what the Prime Minister was talking about, that we must come out of this thing and start now doing what we should be doing as ODM. But we are saying even as we come out of it, we must come out of it properly as a stronger party. Yeah, we don't want this idea whereby, you know, today you speak this, but your actions are this. That has been one of the issues that members have. To say, if you are saying you are ODM, tomorrow you are saying, you are cooperating with the Jubilee. Tomorrow you are saying you are doing this. And then you behave like these things are not reaching the members of the party. And when members start questioning and saying that, no, we must also be involved so that we can also make these decisions, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. My view would be just to say, as I have repeatedly said, the Secretariat should be streamlined so that we have got competent people there who are able to analyze issues. We should make decisions which are information-based or knowledge-based, not just decisions sometimes which come from the blue. We must be able to say we have enough information to make this decision. Even if today you saw that we lost so many seats, that's why you have been hearing about these nomination rules. We have been saying, how do we identify our candidates? How do you just get somebody, because you have money, today you come just in the evening and tomorrow you are taking over the party ticket? Is that the way we want to run political parties? And yet you have got maybe a member of the party who has been there, who really identifies with this party. His only problem is that he does not have bags of money to contribute to Harambes or to do all these kind of things. You are sidelined.
So you acknowledge that money plays a great role.
But this is the problem in the country. You know that very well. That sometimes you find people who just sit in wait, and then at the end of the day, they come and unleash a lot of resources and confuse voters. And this is where we get sometimes our politics wrong. Because you get people sometimes into politics who are not committed.
And that's what Farah Maalim feels, that some of the people...
But the statement I got from you about Farah was like, you know, maybe the leadership or the party decision-making organs being given money.
Yes, that's
but
what
the money I know about is sometimes in politics is the money that goes out to influence the public.
No,
and once, because how
that
do you,
money goes to somebody's pocket.
No, but you see, if you do that and you bring in a very unpopular candidate, then the party loses. Yeah. And again, that to me will just come down. If you have got a proper secretary.
That's why Farah Maalim feels the party is gone.
No, I don't think so. The party is still not gone. The party has got serious challenges. And what Farah is talking about, I think as a senior member of the party, and as somebody whom you know has got some history behind him in terms of liberation in this country, the second liberation, sometimes you feel challenged when you think that what you have stood for is really, you know, being undermined.
That's what and sometimes people who are not committed to the party,
and sometimes
since they have the money, they have got the seats in that list.
Yeah, and I'm sure Farah has been in this game longer. Maybe he could be having some evidence on that. Myself, I don't have any evidence on that. But what I know sometimes is that the money politics in this country is sometimes very dangerous, especially for democracy. It even happens in America, where there are ceilings on how much you can spend on politics. In this country, sometimes we put it, but because of weak control systems, you find sometimes that is flouted. You see a lot of petitions when you go into court after elections is about bribery and all these kind of things. And if we put in a system that can really fast track that, then it will make people shy away from that. Because you remember now even that ethics that are expected once you have become a nominee, you sign that oath of ethics on how to behave. It has made people really restrain themselves. And I think as we continue to reinforce that, like those political gangs that disrupt other people's meetings, funds that are used to influence voters, it is all there in the Election Act, that is flouting the rule. The problem is sometimes the structures that are supposed to enforce those rules, so that we promote democracy and not where people are just buying these seats.
Dr. Otuoma, time is not on our side, but I have to ask a question that has been sent here. Do you just want to be on record that you disagreed with the list, but it seems you have accepted the results? What remains is for you to move on.
I have not accepted those results.
You have not accepted?
I have not accepted them. And that's why I said that, I cannot be party to that. And I'll still continue to push my view. And as I said, if maybe at the National Governing Council, they decide that that is the way to go, then we just have to move on. But definitely I will not accept that. And that is my view. And I'm sure there will also be others, as you have said. Farah has been here, and there are so many others who equally feel the same, and they are right to do that. But if there will be the others who feel that that is the way to do things, and if they are the majority, then we will have no choice. Because even if it comes to voting, when we talk of majority, it definitely means vote. And if you are outvoted, you just have to accept that.
And move on.
And move on in the future and see how that is going to help us. And maybe sometimes you'll reach a place and say, oh yeah, you see, this was not the right way to do things. And then we see whether we are able to correct it, or whether the injuries will be so much that, we can't heal. But I believe that a strong party like ODM should be able to overcome that.
All right, Dr. Otuoma, thank you very much for making time to come to studio this morning to discuss that matter that seems to be on everyone's lips. Quite a number of SMSs. Sadly, time is not on our end, but thank you very much for joining us. You are watching the Power Breakfast Show. Don't go too far.